Welcome back everybody, hope you're all doing really well. It is a chilly autumn day here today in the UK and I've had quite a few requests to film a houseplant tour, so that's what I'm going to be doing for you today. I have had a bit of a battle with thrips over the past few years, so I have lost quite a few houseplants, but I've also gained a few over the last few months as well. And I've got some original plants that I've had for many years, so I'm going to go around and show you how all the plants are doing. The majority of my plants are probably up in my office now, but I've still got quite a few in the living room. I am currently treating them with predatory mites for the thrips. As you can see, I've still got my gloriosum that I've had for quite a few years here. Again, I did have a bit of a problem with thrips on this one, but it has got two lovely new leaves, so it seems to be doing quite well. And there's a new leaf about to unfurl there. This is a crawling type of philodendron, so it's not really suitable for this type of pot. It needs to be crawling along the soil for kind of maximum growth, but it seems to be quite happy at the moment, but I am going to have to repot that at some stage. Here we've got my beautiful Alocasia cuprea. I have got another one of these upstairs. It's not too far away from the window, but I wouldn't say it's getting loads of light either, but because of the reflective finish on the leaves, these can actually tolerate lower light conditions. You'll see upstairs in my office I've got one really far away from the window and it's doing so well. Here we've got my burley marks. This is the non-variegated version. As you can see, this has gone a bit wild, kind of growing like a weed. It has got a support pole there which needs extending. I'll put a link down below for these support poles because I've had quite a few questions on them, and I did make a video on these as well. I've got these dotted around the house, as you'll see. And then behind this one I've got the variegated version, which is really beautiful. This one does need a support pole soon as it's leaning over, getting a bit top heavy, and probably needs moving somewhere a bit more suitable, somewhere with a bit more light. So this might end up going into my office. As you can see, I do have a sachet of the predatory mites hanging on this plant, even though this one in particular doesn't have any thrips currently, but it's more of a preventative measure. And I'll leave the website below for you so you can read up all about how these predatory mites work and how they can eliminate different pests on your houseplants. Here we have my beautiful Alocasia mellow in its own glass dome. I found that it kept dropping leaves because it loves high humidity and it just wasn't getting enough humidity in this room. So it's been much happier since I've put it under some glass. As you can see, the roots are going mad, and I'm assuming there'll probably be quite a few corms now when I repot this plant. But it's one of my all-time favourites. And I've had this one for, must be at least 3 or even 4 years now. I'll have to go back and see, but I've had it for quite some time. This particular Alocasia, as I mentioned, loves high humidity, but apparently it doesn't like really soggy soil, so I don't water it too much, not as much as some of my other Alocasia, and it seems to be quite happy. Here we have my Florida Beauty, which again I've had for quite a few years. It's getting rather large. It has outgrown the space, and I do need to get another extension on this moss pole. And I think we've got a new leaf that's just unfurled somewhere up there. So I won't be able to see what variegation we've got on that until it unfurls a bit more. This is a really beautiful plant, one of my favourites, but definitely has outgrown the space. I've still got my Marimo moss balls, which I've had for a number of years. A couple of them are floating because I changed the water this morning, so they'll sink down in the next 24 hours. And these are kept in low light. If they are kept in too bright a light, they'll turn white. So they've been here for quite a few years and they seem quite happy. I change the water probably about every month or so. They like the water to be really cold. I did film a video on these years ago when I first got them with some information about them if you are interested. I don't have many plants growing over on the windowsill at the moment, so it is looking a bit bare, but we have got a little bonsai, a Schefflera growing on lava rock, and I can't remember the name of that plant in the corner, but these were all gifts from friends and family. This is the Begonia maculata whitei that I picked up quite a few years ago now as a rescue plant. I think it was about 50p or something in the Save Me section in B&Q. And as you can see, it's absolutely huge. It's just finished flowering. It's by the patio door here. Over in this corner, we have got one of my all-time favourites, the Philodendron bilietiae. I've had this plant in my collection for quite a few years. It started off as a tiny plant with, I think it had 2 leaves, maybe 3 possibly. And look at it now, it is an absolute beast. And the newest leaf is this one here. You can see how large they are. It's absolutely beautiful, very easy to grow, and I am really wanting to get my hands on the variegated version. It's been one of my wish list plants for must be about 5 years now. So I am on the hunt for a variegated version. This was over in this corner here where the speaker is, but it has obviously outgrown the space, so I put it here for now, but I'm not sure if it's going to be getting enough light here, so we'll have to see. I do have a little grow light up there and it is by the window, but we'll just have to see how it goes. Might have to move it somewhere else. And then we've got my Florida Ghost, one of them. This originally started off as a small cutting, and now I've got them everywhere because it grows like a weed and I keep propagating it. These are really beautiful. The leaves come out almost like a white colour, and then as the plant matures they change to green. And the more light this plant gets, the whiter the leaves come out initially, which is really cool. Over in this corner, we've got a beautiful Paraíso Verde, which outgrew my office upstairs, so I've had to move it. This one's being treated for thrips, as it unfortunately did get attacked. But we do have a new leaf coming, which is promising. And then this sits next to another Gloriosum. Over here in the corner, we've got my beautiful biOrb AIR Terrarium. Unfortunately, this was riddled with thrips, so I've had to put multiple sachets of the mites in here. So I will be rescaping this once all the pests have gone. So it's not looking its best at the moment, although we do have a few flowers in there just to brighten it up. And then over here in the corner, we've got a cutting of one of my Florida Ghosts. This is the newest leaf. Here we are in my office, and as you can see, I've got quite a few plants in here, probably the most plants in any room of my house. So I'm going to go around and show you what's new. We've got this beautiful Alocasia Frydek, which I bought from someone that's not too far away from me called Dan. Really nice guy who was just selling a few plants, so I picked up a few Alocasia from him. I got this Frydek, I got this one which is called Antoro Velvet. I also picked up from him this Dragon Scale, and the plant that I actually went to him for was the Maharani, which is a hybrid of the Black Velvet and the Mellow. And this is really beautiful. I've wanted this for a long time. These were selling for crazy money a few years back, and now you can pick them up cheap as chips. So I picked up a couple from him. I potted 2 up in this pot here. So this big leaf belongs to one plant, and then these little ones belong to another plant. But this has actually produced a new leaf since I've had it, which is promising, as I know this is quite a high humidity lover. And I don't run humidifiers anymore, so I just rely on the humidity from grouping houseplants together and sometimes I leave out little pots of water which kind of raise the humidity as well. I also got a dragon's breath corm from him as well, which is exciting. That's in a propagator below, which I'll show you in a moment. I also recently picked up this beautiful alocasia scalprum, which is one that's been on my wish list for quite a few years. Again, these were selling for a lot of money a few years back, and now they're really cheap. I love the texture of the leaves, and it feels like cardboard. So it feels like it's going to be quite hardy, I'm hoping, but we'll see. It has produced a new leaf since I've had it, which is this one here. So in regards to other new plants that I've picked up, I also ordered online this beautiful variegated frydek, although I think it's going to drop this leaf here because it looks like it's gone a bit droopy and yellow in the corner. So that's a bit unfortunate, but hopefully it'll spring back to life. It's not the best time of year to be ordering plants online because it's quite cold here at night in the UK now. So unless they're putting heat packs and things in with the plants, they don't really like it. They don't appreciate a cold night's sleep. But if I get up here, you can see it a bit better. There's actually 2 plants in this pot. I got this from Cowell's Garden Centre online. This is the newest leaf here, which is really beautiful. I'm hoping it doesn't drop that leaf. Behind the frydek, we've got my alocasia black velvet, again being treated for thrips, and my Queen of Hearts isn't doing too badly considering this had thrips as well, so it did lose a few leaves, although it's just produced this lovely new leaf. And the reason it's called Queen of Hearts is because they come out this beautiful red colour, and then as the leaf matures it turns green. This is a hybrid, Queen of Hearts hybrid, but I'm not quite sure what it is crossed with. And then at the back here, this is newish. I've had this Thai constellation for probably about 5 weeks or so. Again, this got attacked by the thrips, so it's being treated. Look at this beautiful leaf, gorgeous variegation. Hopefully that will give me a new leaf soon. Again, I think I'll probably need to extend a lot of the moss poles soon. My beautiful variegated monstera also being treated for thrips. I had to cut off the last leaf because it was so infested, but I can already see that it is starting to produce a new leaf. So hopefully it will be okay. This has really stunning variegation. And then up here on top of my cabinet, I've just got a few hanging plants, another Florida Ghost, a few trailing plants. I think this one's Marble Queen. I've still got my Pinatum, and this has been propagated quite a few times as well. The other part of it's downstairs in the kitchen. This has got gorgeous variegated leaves. You can trail these or grow them up a moss pole. The leaves will be much bigger if you grow them up a pole, so I'm quite tempted to do that. At the back here, we've got my Anthurium radicans hybrid, which I've had for quite a few years. I have propagated this quite a few times by taking some of the growth points and putting them in a propagator. I found it to be quite slow growing. I think it needs more humidity. Absolutely love the texture on these leaves. It reminds me of the luxurians. We've got a Magnificum hybrid here. This is a brand new leaf. This leaf was around this size about 10 days ago, so it just shows you how quickly they grow. I'll have to update you when the leaf's full size, but again, I find this plant really likes high humidity, so it's not been particularly happy. It'll grow these beautiful leaves and then they'll just go all crispy and kind of die back, but it still keeps growing, still keeps pushing out new leaves. I did have this downstairs for quite a while and I have moved it up here recently, so I'll have to see how it does. You can see as I'm moving the leaf here how velvety and what a gorgeous sheen there is to the leaf. Above the Anthurium, I've got a golden dragon, which again started off as a small cutting, and I've propagated this plant many times. This was in the bathroom, but it wasn't getting much light in there, so I've recently moved this into my office. I used to have a big peace lily in the corner here, but when I went on holiday to Australia last time, I think my friend might have forgotten to water it and it died, but they can be quite dramatic if they don't get enough water. So I decided to replace it with something a bit hardier, something that doesn't need as much water. And these are really good for low light conditions. This is a ZZ plant. I've never had one of these before, so I'm quite excited to have one in my collection, and it already has started producing new leaves, so it seems quite happy in the corner here, even though it's not getting much light. I've still got my beautiful plant wall here at the back with the fairy lights and the hanging plants. My silver satin here has grown ridiculously over the years. I've had this plant for a long time. It has shingled itself in many places up the wall. So you can see it's stuck itself to the wall all over. So I dread the day that I'll need to repot this plant because I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but it seems happy at the moment and I'll just leave it as it is. We've got a golden pothos there. This one I've had for a while. I find this to be quite slow growing, but it's really beautiful. Love the colour of these leaves. And then we have got my other cupria, which seems to love this hanging pot. It grew so much that I had to actually cut this back, and then I gave it a trim, propagated part of it, and then kind of stuck it back in. So it does look a bit better now. It was hanging down a bit too far, and it has got some new leaves, another one coming there. As I said, it doesn't really get too much light here at the back of my office, but it's been here for, must be about 4 or 5 years. So it's great to know that these plants can tolerate lower light conditions. Down in the corner here, we've just got a snake plant and a clarinervium. A few more plants to show you. I've still got my beautiful Syngonium pink splash, which is doing really well. Stunning variegation, beautiful pink colour. It comes out a brighter pink when the leaves unfurl, and then they kind of get a bit duskier as the plant matures. Really pretty, lovely trailing plant. And then up here in the corner, we've got a Philodendron Brazil, which is a nice, easy plant to grow, fast growing, lovely variegation, and not too fussy. Got a few succulents here on the window. We've got my rainbow cactus, which I've had for quite a long time now, maybe about 5 years or so, maybe 6 years. And I've got a variegated euphorbia here, which started off as a small cutting. Really beautiful, seems to be quite happy. And then I've got my variegated string of hearts, which I've had for quite a few years as well. I have to keep trimming this plant, and then I just propagate the cuttings and then just stick them back in the top or gift them. As you can see from my office window, my bananas are still looking pretty good for November, but it'll soon be time to give them a bit of a trim and cover them with fleece for the winter, which I'll be filming for you, of course. Down here on the bottom shelf, we've got another Alocasia Mellow, one of my all-time favourites. This was super cheap on eBay, so I thought I would add another one to my collection. It has dropped one leaf since I've had it because I don't think it was very happy in the post, but they never are. They're quite fussy, these particular Alocasia. They don't like change of temperature. I have put it in this Perspex box to try and help with the humidity. A couple of the leaves were already curled, so we'll just have to see how it does, but it's a really good size, and I think there's actually 2 plants in the pot as well. So beautiful. I love the texture of the leaves, absolutely stunning. And then in this propagation box here, we have some baby pink princess on the right. In the middle, I've got some Aglaonema pictum tricolour cuttings. I obviously did have a pictum tricolour, but it just kept dropping leaves. I'm not quite sure, maybe it didn't like the humidity. So I'm going to try again. Over on the left corner there, we've got some radicans and then golden dragon cuttings in the next propagator. I forgot to mention my Dicinia marmorata, which is usually a terrarium plant, but I've been growing this out of terrarium for quite a few years. It's happy sometimes and sometimes it's not. You can see I've got a bit of yellowing of some of the leaves and curling of the leaves, which means it probably could do with more humidity. Such a beautiful plant. It was much happier in the summer, and as soon as the cold temperatures crept in the kitchen, it started to look a bit sad, so I have moved it up here in the office where it is a bit warmer. I forgot to mention I've also got a Jacqueline, which was another plant that I had on my wish list for ages. This was £5 in Hilliers Garden Centre, so that was a really good find. It's only got this one leaf, which seems to be yellowing. I've had it for about a month now, but there does appear to be a new leaf appearing, so hopefully, fingers crossed, that will produce a lovely new leaf. This is a really stunning plant, so unusual looking. And I also ordered a variegated Maharani corm from Etsy, so I'm really excited for that to arrive. Let me know in the comments below if you've got any wishlist plants at the moment, maybe a top 5. I'm pretty happy with my collection at the moment. The only one I'd really love to add, as I mentioned earlier, is the variegated Billietier. So I am keeping an eye out for one of those, although it's not the best time of year to be buying plants now because it's quite chilly here in the UK, and I just worry about them being in the post, especially when it is an expensive and rare plant. You just don't really want to risk something like that. I don't really have anything that exciting in the kitchen at the moment, hence why I'm not showing you the kitchen plants. I have moved a couple up here because it's getting a bit chilly down there, so maybe in the springtime when I've moved and shuffled a few things around, I'll do like a full houseplant tour. Let me know what you think of my current collection. Hope you're all doing really well and still enjoying your indoor jungles. Hope you enjoyed my houseplant tour. Take care everyone, and I'll see you all soon.